objection to that call just a minute ago. They are regaining some of that enthusiasm. Newhouse and Preston Pearson shuffle around in the Dallas backfield.
Better look out for Tony Hill here pretty quick.
He's in the corner.
All right, let's take a look at it. You've got the new player over there that's playing. That's Otis McKinney, the young man from Colorado. Hill goes in for the post and breaks it back out. Pretty good defensive try, and this young man is one of the best players in football right now in the outside positions, Tony Hill, and he's only in his second year. Scary.
Protection good. Pattern excellent. Pass on target. 7-0. Cowboys lead. Here's our buddy.
Whistling Rays.
That horse is going to throw him one day. 7-0. A comeback team.
Look at that. They're ahead by 2 in the third.
21-19. Vikings, who are in a strange position this year of chasing the Packers. Here's the blitz. Looking for Tony Hill. Getting Tony Hill.
Giants came with the blitz, and Tony Hill was running, and Roger Staubach stayed in there. And Patrick, you want to see a quarterback know he's going to get hit. There's Carson going to hit him, and Brian Kelly, a perfect throw, and Hill has him beat to the corner.
There will be those who criticize Ray Rhodes. Look at Listen, Ray, that's a giant pennant that he's jumping up and down on. I started to say there'll be those who criticize Ray Rhodes, but when you come with a blitz like that and you get caught in the blitz, that's a tough job, Thomas.
Well, I'll tell you, especially on a fast track like this, artificial surface in this game.
And with a guy coming at you like Tony Hill, Rafael Septien is successful with his field goal with his extra point attempt. It is Dallas 21. The Giants 3 with 7:19 left to play third quarter.
Tough mistake. Can the Cowboys capitalize now? Now the reverse play, Drew Pearson, and now it's back to Staubach, a flea flicker. Tony Hill, touchdown on a flea flicker. 37-yard touchdown pass on the flea flicker. I mentioned in the first half, Lindsay, when they ran this play with Drew Pearson, that off of this, he could throw it back to Staubach, and Tony Hill is beating everybody. He's all alone, 37 yards, and we're going to have a tie ball game if the extra point is converted. Here it is again. Staubach from Pearson, and he just lets it go. Roger Worley is trying to cover Tony Hill, and Hill was too much. So now a conversion attempt coming, which if good will tie the score. Rafael Septien will be kicking. Charlie Waters holding for the Cowboys. Waters puts it down. Septien boots it up. It's good. And the score is tied. As they come back up the field, it is the St. Louis Cardinals 14, the Dallas Cowboys 14, and we have 4 minutes, 18 seconds left to play in the third quarter.
Well, Bud Wilkinson mentioned in his release we'd stay away from mistakes, and that mistake on the punt cost him 6. Dallas comes right back, throws the flea flicker, and Staubach spots Tony Hill all by himself. Look at that. 3 points, wouldn't they, Lynch?
They would, in fact.
Second.
1 down here. Here comes the Tony Hill touchdown. Tony Hill for the touchdown from Staubach.
Somebody blew the coverage there on Tony Hill. There wasn't anybody covering Tony Hill. Staubach almost slips down. They had a safety blitz on. Kenny Stone was going after the quarterback. Nobody covered Tony Hill. Second touchdown reception of the day. He caught 2 touchdown passes last week against the New York Giants.
And with 1 minute 17 seconds left to play in the third quarter, the Cowboys are in front for the first time today. They have a conversion attempt coming. It's Charlie Waters holding for Rafael Septien. shoots it, and it's good. So as they come back up the field now, the Dallas Cowboys are out in front by a score of 21-14 with 1:17 remaining to be played in the third quarter.
Staubach's got them moving now. Two big plays. Of course, that play going for a nice chunk of yardage, putting them on the 40-yard line. Let's pass out a few plaudits to the defense of the Cowboys, too. They've only given up 2 third-quarter touchdowns, and they've held New England relatively in check during the third quarter of this game, which is almost over. 2:09 left.
From the 40-yard line, first down for Dallas. Dorsett. Oh, watch this one. Going to go long, and they have Hill wide open. Touchdown. The staid, cool, collected Landry, an atypical play. A little flea flicker.
He's not afraid to go to the grab bag every now and again, too. Right here. Hands off to Dorsett. The old flea flicker. Flips it back. Staubach has all the time in the world. Hill all alone. Tim Fox running for everything he's worth. But Hill able to back his way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Now Septien trying to tie it out of Waters' hole. He just did squeak that one inside the right upright. And a flag is down.
And we got a penalty here on the kick.
All right. Kick is good. They'll penalize New England unsportsmanlike conduct on the ensuing kickoff. So a new game in Irving's Texas Stadium. Tony Hill's touchdown is tied it at 10.
Johnson's come on to replace Dupree. They have the fleet wide receivers in again. It's the shotgun on 3rd and 9. And a big rush is on. He lets it go. Tony Hill at the 20. He's in. Touchdown, Tony Hill.
Okay, Kurt, that was a blitz. They've been burned twice on blitzes. That was no exception. Staubach was the hero on both occasions. You see Tony Hill on Donnie Shell. He's all alone with him all over the field. Staubach threw the ball before Tony Hill even made his break. He was forced to. They communicated perfectly, and the score is almost tied. One kick will do it.
And this pass comes as time ran out in the first period. He can really tightrope that sideline, Tony Hill, a second-year player. He came so fast that they traded Golden Richards on to the Bears to make way for Hill, who's going to be a great pro star.
And Mel Blount, who was deeper than Tony Hill, had his back to the quarterback, playing man-to-man, corralling his receiver. Never did see Hill until he went by him into the end zone.
It's survival time when you get one-on-one with some guy and you're in a blitz situation.
Septien only missed 1 point out of 47. Charlie Waters will hold. It is a tie at the end of the first period. And what a first quarter here in Super Bowl number 13. We'll be back with the second quarter of today's game after these messages from your local station.
Too late. He has lost nothing. Oh, what a great throw that was. Pearson now has 5 catches for 99 yards. First down from the 30-yard line. Ron Springs, he's wanted to throw. He's a left-hander. Wide open. Tony Hill. Touchdown. I didn't know that Springs was left-handed, and I'm not sure that St. Louis knew that. Maybe he isn't. All I know, he threw a pretty good spiral, and he did what you should do on running passes like that. He threw it early. He didn't allow the defense time to recover and perhaps come over and knock it away. Look at Tony Hill. That's the last person he thought he was going to get a ball from. Here it is from the eye, sprint out left, takes a couple of good steps. Now watch him. He's going to project this baby and throw it. Rafferty gives him a little time. It's not a bad spiral. Tom Landry may have called a pretty good play.
On second down, Staubach faces a blitz and has time and goes deep for Tony Hill and got him. Touchdown, Dallas. back under center this time as Dorsett goes into motion. Staubach takes the direct snap. Throw again. Outside to Tony Hill. Tony Hill will score for Dallas. Roger Staubach's third touchdown pass of the day. 2 to Tony Hill, 1 to Billy Joe Dupree.
Look at that block. And that block by Fitzgerald. And a great bit of running by Tony Hill. There may not be many dangerous receivers, more dangerous than Tony in the open.
We got another sky-high view of a jam-packed stadium. Hard on. That's right. All right. Got us a good first down in there. Well, they got that straight. Yeah. Tell you, that was a good hold by Laidlaw because he was hit by Bolton. Bolton once a Patriot, another one who's come on here for Cleveland. Ball just short of the 48-yard line of the Cleveland Browns. Drew Pearson, 88, in motion. Roger flood backs to the left, tries to get single coverage. He's got it. There you go. That's Tony Hill, and we're going to have a ball game tonight, so don't go away. Tony Hill scores once again his 4th of the year, and he's having a super season, Don. You can count on it. Well, when you see this on the replay, and you'll see what Tony Hill did. Watch it from the end zone, Don. Little slight roll. You see him hiding there behind Fitzgerald, the center. Quick little fake one way. Yeah, on the other side, which we really didn't quite see. Hill gave him an outside fake, moved right down the middle, and had him beat by about 5 or 6 yards. This is the guy that, of course, Landry's been talking about since he's been there. He thinks he's one of the most unique receivers he's ever seen come into the league, based on basically one talent, the ability to adjust under a long ball. He has that ability to move like that center fielder. Raphael Septian on for the conversion for Dallas. Well, and unlike Cockcroft, Septian puts his first attempt through the crossbars. 20-7, Cleveland over Dallas, but you better hang around. You better.
As I was saying about Jim LeClaire, he is one tough cookie in the middle.
3rd down and 7 now for Dallas. So as Anderson had a big 3rd down play a moment ago and was intercepted, Staubach has one now. Looking for the quick pop, it wasn't there. Now throws it over the middle. Touchdown to Tony Hill.
Here you'll see the play again, and Tony Hill is at least the 3rd receiver in the receiver progression for Roger Staubach. He looked everywhere, and once again hit his rifle, flat rifle. And Tony Hill could take some abuse because Marvin Cobb hit him right in the chest, and he hung onto the football.
And he caught that football right between Cobb and Bo Harris, the linebacker. They appeared to have excellent coverage, but there is no coverage on a pass like that by Staubach.
Agreed.
He couldn't have thrown it any better. Septian to make it 31 for Dallas, and he does. Now the Cowboys can feel comfortable, and they have rebounded very well. The best in the game. 6 straight Pro Bowls. Jack Youngblood confused by that option. There was a gain of 4. It'll be 2nd down at 6. The ball at the 18-yard line. Here they come. Let's again. He's got a man open. Tony Hill. Oh, that was funny. This time they worked on number 27, Pat Thomas, but Fran mentioned before, when you go with the blitz, you've got to cover man for man, and with Tony Hill and Drew Pearson on the flanks, well, you can forget it if you don't pressure the quarterback. Well, he could not draw that one up any better than it was.
Here it is from the end zone. Here's Roger back. They come with the blitz again. Again, they didn't get there with the blitz. Tony Hill, no, can't do it.
Oh, he put a good move on Thomas, too. He was in that inside, gave an inside fake. We'll see it again here, friend. Oh, he has some good moves and a lot of speed to go with it. You know, it was just a kind of that little slide into the inside, and he came back out and never broke his stride. He does have the good speed.
And the
pass to Walter Payton. Cowboys face a 3rd and 6, and they have their receiving core in now. Dorsett goes out. Wide to the left comes Butch Johnson. Wide right, Drew Pearson. And the rest of the ones that can catch it.
Drew Pearson hasn't caught a pass yet, has he?
Not yet.
Touchdown number 7 for Tony Hill and catch number 31. Rogers, straight drop back, both receivers running the deep sideline into the end zone. Boy, he just ran by Lee Nelson, who was the up back, supposed to take the inside away. Where did Roger Worley go? I didn't see the cornerback.
He must have been man-to-man on somebody else. They had 5 receivers operating on that pattern. Raphael Septien with Danny White holding. Cowboys lead the Cardinals 16-6. Change that to 17. And a touchdown again.
You're from behind the St. Louis defense. Remember, you don't have much time to put pressure on. So now Rogers throwing dummy scrimmage stuff. Tony makes sure he gets 3 feet down.
Tony Hill.
And Dallas moving the football on the ground. They came into tonight's game. That's what they said they wanted to do. They're very open about it. They have not been happy with their ground game. The first 2 attempts have been successful attempts. Second down and 2. Drew Pearson in motion, number 88. Staubach, play action fake. Looking for Tony Hill. He's wide open. Touchdown. 6 points. Tony Hill.
Boy.
Sprinting past the zone. Touchdown. Dallas, 3rd play of the ball game.
Roger. One of the things he can always make this go if you run 2 good runs right before him and set it up, had time to throw, had a little motion move by Pearson. You saw Hill come down and go straight to the middle. Nothing really fancy, but you see Pearson coming in behind him. If anything, he just blew right past number 22, Bernard Wilson, and he didn't get over there in time. Will Hill, he did it again.
He was looking for help. The Eagle defender from his safety. Hill with that blazing speed was by him. Touchdown. Raphael Septien. The holder, Danny White. And Dallas out in front. 7-0. 3 plays. The Cowboys on the scoreboard. Tom Landry wondering what Billy Joe Dupree did wrong. We'll be back in a moment. Here in Irving, it has been an all-Eagle football game here in the second half.
Gosh, look at that. 1 first down in the second half.
Second down, about 14. The ball back at the 25-yard line. Staubach puts one up in the direction of Tony Hill. This should be 6. Tony Hill's second touchdown of the night.
How do you like
is
that?
9th of the season, and it comes from 75 yards out. Don't go away.
That's why the Cowboys, so explosive, can excite you at any stage of the game. Look at that.
Bernard Wilson was trying to stay with Tony Hill. He wasn't close.
That was not a Hail Mary pass.
No, that was out there.
The excellence of the quarterback, the excellence of the receiver.
It's the second time tonight that I've seen really a receiver wide open, and again, both times it was Tony Hill, and they just haul off and throw that one as far as you can, and Hill happened to be down there.
Once he gets the ball, the action begins. Tony Hill's longest reception ever.
How'd you know that?
There'll be longer.
It's right up here.
No, it is not.
And
Raphael Septien. Tony Hill, 6 receptions on the night, 193 yards. He scored 9 TDs on the season. 2 tonight. Don't go away.
Seen so many people coming in and out. Some of them have come back and forth twice.
It is no wonder that they wind up with not enough or too many people on the field from time to time. Wilson now goes out. And I think they have the correct contingent there on second down and goal from the 8.
It's got 11.
Staubach lines up under center this time with Springs and Pearson behind him. He throws. Tony Hill got it. Touchdown, Dallas.
And now the extra point.
Don't forget what's coming. And don't forget either that Washington still has 2 timeouts left.
Look at this Dallas team in the other end zone now. Nobody wants to go
By the way, is passing 72 yards, rushing 65 yards, a total of 137. Tony Dorsett has carried the ball 7 times for 34 yards. Danny White, the quarterback, 2 for 4, 25. Denver leading 17-0 in the second quarter. 8 minutes, 19 seconds left to play in the second quarter of the game. Long pass. Tony Hill. He's got a touchdown for Tony Hill.
What a great catch. Tremendous catch. Perfectly thrown pass. Perfectly thrown pass. Pretty good coverage that time by Steve Foley. With Dorsett just got set in time. Just lays it out, a go pattern. Watch the adjustment he makes back over his outside shoulder. Just looks it in, gets his feet down. Touchdown, Dallas.
A 36-yard pass play. Danny White to Tony Hill. Puts the Cowboys on the scoreboard. They have a conversion attempt coming now. Charlie Waters signaling he wants one more man on the field, and he's getting him. It is Raphael Septien, of course, to attempt the conversion, with Waters himself holding. Septien boots, and it's good. So the score now is the Denver Broncos 17 and the Dallas Cowboys 7. In Denver, the Cowboys have the ball first and 10. They have it at Denver's 23-yard line. We have 1 minute, 28 seconds left to play in the game. The Denver Broncos leading the Cowboys 38-13. Danny White has quarterback. Cowboys all day long. White is 17 for 31, 244 yards. He's in a shotgun. Going long to the end zone to Tony Hill, and touchdown. Tony Hill took it deep in the end zone for the touchdown. A 23-yarder. So the Dallas Cowboys have scored here in the last 2 minutes of the ball game.
They split the zone that time. Got right in the seam of the zone. Good protection. Not a big rush. Everybody playing soft this time. You see him, he just split it, got his feet down right in between the defenders.
It's 38-19 now with the conversion attempt coming. Raphael Septien with Charlie Waters holding will attempt. Septien's kick is good. So it is now the Denver Broncos 38 and the Dallas Cowboys 20 with 1 minute 22 seconds left to play in the game.
Can't see much in his hand though. We tried that earlier, didn't we? Not much there.
Just a very small little bandage. Tony Dorsett will be the deep back. Now Drew Pearson moves back deep, but he will come. You can see Danny White's bandage, and here comes Pearson on his middle finger left hand. White going for the bunch to Hill. Got it. Dallas touchdown. He was open for a long time. Terry Jackson was the giant defender. Tony Hill.
His third touchdown catch of the year. He's more dangerous after he catches it. Before he runs a good pattern here. Excellent pass blocking. The blitz was on. Safety blitz by the Giants did not get there. It was picked up. And Danny White was right on target to one of the toughest guys to cover in football.
So many times you see that when they pick up the blitz and you have that much time, you're looking touchdown.
Dorsett, the one that made that block and picked up Beasley Reese.
Raphael Septien. 10-0. Dallas leads 6:27. Here's the touchdown play game. Watch number 33.
Little action behind there. Dorsett steps up to your left, picks up the safety man blitzing, and it's line up for the old extra point there.
And the extra point was good by Septien. It's 10-0 Dallas.
In the NFL. Last week, 9 quarterbacks throwing for better than 300 yards. It's beginning to look like the old AFL. We constantly see these 38-35 games. You wonder if defense is ever going to come back.
Well, the rules, of course, it's been brought up, and week in and week out, the two major rules: you cannot hit a receiver 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, and it gives a lot of those receivers that were reluctant to go over the middle, they can do it now. Plus the pass protection, the offensive linemen, they can extend their arms, so the advantages have been to the offense, and now the coaches are doing something about it.
Second down, 2. Cowboys at their 41. White throwing on 2nd and 2, and he lets it go. Tony Hill! Touchdown!
But this time Danny gets it up in the air, plenty of distance. Tony Hill runs by Carl Allen, excellent pass, excellent catch, and it's a touchdown. So we've got some fireworks today, Frank.
You like big plays, you have come to the right place. Texas Stadium, we've seen a ton of them, and we're not even at halftime yet. Septien with the extra point tries. It took the Cowboys 2 plays to get the touchdown back. The kick is good. And it's a 21-17 football game with 6 minutes left to play in the half.
Well, we've seen some.
This could be the ball game right here. 4th down and 5. Cowboys at the Cardinal 28. They have to get at least the first down to keep this drive going. They've got 1 timeout left. They need a touchdown. They trail 24-20.
Where that pass rush, those guys got to put the pressure. He's got good protection. Tony Hill, touchdown, Tony Hill. What a play by Tony Hill.
And it's the Cowboys' turn to celebrate.
Tony Hill's he's got a man on him right there. Look at Danny White. He just steps, fires it up there, lets it go deep. There's 2 men right back there. It's good defense. Cardinals gave it everything on this play. Those guys are coming in there, but Danny steps to his left a little bit, lets it go to the corner. Tony breaks. He's got a man right behind him, though. It's good defense. It's just again, same type of play that Pat Tilley made. Tony Hill out-jumped him and got the football.
So now it's 26-24. Extra point try to come. Cardinals will have 45 seconds and all 3 of their timeouts. Kick is good. Dallas by 3 as the Cowboys strike with 45 seconds to go. Last year, you'll recall, Septien won the ball game with a field goal that caromed off the left upright. The year before in St. Louis, the Cowboys went into overtime and won the game.
Cowboys at the Seattle 18. White to Hill, touchdown. Tony Hill, 6th touchdown of the season.
Tony Hill's a big play man for these Dallas Cowboys. We said it earlier, you cannot give Danny White this amount of time. He does not have any pressure, fires it up, puts it right on the numbers, and Hill just outstriding the injured Keith Simpson. Keith Simpson, he had no chance on it.
Good throw, and the thrill. Tony Hill with a touchdown. Try for point by Raphael Septien. Charlie Waters to hold. And the Cowboys have a 7-point lead. Timeout here at Texas Stadium.
To Dallas tonight does not augur any accuracy for the future. Not with Landry it doesn't. 3rd down and 10. Danny White out of the shotgun. The Rams will just freewheel. Tony Hill wide open, and he holds on, and the Cowboys on the scoreboard. No flags down, and what a beautiful move Tony Hill put on over on the left side. Rod Perry totally turned around. Tony Hill took it in. Frank, that's an example of what I mentioned just a moment ago of his ability to adjust to wherever the ball is thrown. And as you know, playing receiver, that's really not easy to do. This is what the Cowboys call a corner route or a zig out. You see the ball coming back, he caught it over the other shoulder. You see when Tony Hill looked back as if he were going to take it over one shoulder, Rod Perry looked back, and then when Rod Perry looked back, Tony Hill broke it to the outside, and Perry lost him totally. I think he's one of the best players playing today. I really do. Seption for the conversion. There will be no shutout. Charlie Waters places the ball down. Seption drills it through the upright. Danny White is just hit for his 24th touchdown of the season. We'll be back in Anaheim in a moment.
Oh, wait, Harrison is playing for Carl Harrison.
He has moved to the other side. Harrison was shaken up earlier, so was Charlie Smith. As Danny White drops. With a lot of time, he's going for Tony Hill, and he's got him. Touchdown.
That's the 8th touchdown catch for Tony Hill. And the pass blocking was out of sight, and Danny White really had his feet set.
And Tony Hill really clobbered one of our cameramen. Watch him hit the cameraman as he goes out of the end zone.
He's running a fly, a straight, or a 9, whatever you call it. But look, as Big Bud Harrison gets caught inside, Scott picks up on him too, all the time in the world, and this ball is right on. Herman Edwards is fairly close. But this is a perfect touchdown pass, catch, and as you say, then run into the cameraman.
It was not one of our cameramen. But he does seem to be okay. Again with Waters holding. 13-0 Dallas. The Cowboys have taken a 2-touchdown lead in the opening seconds of the second quarter. 14-0 for the team of Landry. Yep. First down. Line of scrimmage now, the 22 perhaps. Washington and Chicago. The Redskins looking for their first victory would appear to have it. Troubles in Chicago as Washington leads 24-0. One setback. That's a dangerous one. Number 33, Tony Dorsett. Pearson goes in motion. Out to Drew. He's going to throw wide open as Tony Hill down, touchdown.
I'll tell you, whatever it takes, Pat, that's the second time that we've seen a wide receiver throw in this game. The 49ers did it once, and now they do it. Now watch here. We'll see the motion. You see come out here. Now watch White. He comes back like it's a screen out here. And we see Pearson stop. He's looking for Hill. He finds him in the end zone. He's deep for a touchdown. Ooh, that was a great catch. That's not a bad throw by a wide receiver. You know, they have a tough time getting that ball out there sometimes.
And don't forget, though, that Drew Pearson was a quarterback in college at Tulsa, as was Solomon at Tampa.
That's right. We used to have a tough time throwing those things when they wore stickum. We used to practice out all week and try and do it in the game. We couldn't throw it because they had stickum on it.
Raphael Septien with Charlie Waters holding. And Dallas tightens things up just a bit in their first offensive moves of the day. 49ers, however, still lead 24-7 with 3:59 left in the first half.
Almost like a wide receiver. He really does. 38-yard line. The Cowboys leading 19-10. 5:30 remaining in the second quarter. White up on top. Tony Hill wide open. Look out. Watch out. Tony Hill's gone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. George Andrews missed the tackle, and Tony Hill goes 63 yards and a Dallas touchdown. It's the first time they've seen Thrill Hill, as they call him down here, all year long. Thrill Hill. He came back and played from his hamstring injury in San Francisco. Caught a touchdown pass there from Drew Pearson. But he is putting on a show in his first start tonight. Well, they say you need big plays to win, Dandy, and we've seen a couple of big plays by Dorsett, Tony Hill. The Cowboys have reasserted themselves here. That's the end.
for the conversion. Big plays here in Dallas tonight. And Dallas has moved on out. They lead 26-10. 63-yard touchdown pass on a third down situation.
Here it is, first down play. They fake the run to the line, which is a tendency of first down to run, of course. Gets good protection, not much rush. You watch Tony Hill here, made a good move, caught the ball, and then Rod Perry runs by him. This is a tackle. No way George Andrews is going to catch Thrill Hill.
Rod Perry actually knocked off the other defensive back.
Here's Perry on the coverage. Hill makes a good out move and beats Perry by more than Perry normally gets beat by.
They watch him knock Leroy Irvin off. They're both down, and now it's
Tony Hill is one of those wide receivers. You have to respect that deep move. He turned Rod Perry around with that little inside move. He thought he was going to do it.
Give Dallas opportunity, you destroy yourself.
Second down and 3. Flea flicker. There'll be a man wide open. Tony Hill.
Okay, there it is.
Danny White to Tony Dorsett. The old flea flicker. Dallas uses it all the time. Tony Hill with that great speed just flew by the defenders so easy.
His first reception of the night. In 2 minutes and 41 seconds, they have scored 2 touchdowns. They scored the first one in 21 seconds of the second half. The next one in the wake of an intercept caused by a rush by Ed Jones. This is the Dallas team if you give them a shot.
Well, you could say they make their own shots.
They
Even
do
Ed
to a
Jones
degree,
staring
but
in your quarterback's face, you're going to throw it currently.
Buffalo sure helped.
Septien. And the crowd loves it. As how quickly the Cowboys have hung up their 14 points to take a 21-14 lead.
This was almost a bad toss from Tony back to Danny White. You see, he went a little bit wide. Danny just shifted over. Frank called it. Tony Hill was way behind all of them.
I'll tell you, Danny almost bobbled it. He had the big eyes. He knew Tony Hill was 5 yards behind any defender. We'll be back.
They can. Now, they'll get up there and just hurry up. I'm sure he called 2 plays, the quarterback sneak plus this one from the shotgun.
Clock running at 40 seconds left to play. Now the shotgun, and now the throw. Pass intended for Tony Hill. Touchdown, Dallas. Got it done quickly. Thrill Hill.
Thrill Hill, they all have a name. That was a great play by Danny White there. They called 2 plays. They had no timeouts left. The first one, the quarterback sneak to get the first down. The second one from the spread, and it was just that quick up into the back corner to Tony Hill.
That's right. Mr. Landry refuses to call it the shotgun, doesn't he?
No, he calls it the spread. He lets other people call it the shotgun, but the spread is his.
Raphael Septien with Charlie Waters holding. It's 10-7. Septien, one of 3 kickers this year who has not missed an extra point. He still hasn't. 38 seconds left on the clock. The Eagles still have 2 timeouts left when they get it.
You know, when you get down here inside the 10-yard line, you're throwing into the end zone. You want to throw it right at that back pylon. You see the end pylon there? That's exactly where he threw it. And either your guy gets it or it goes out of bounds and stops the clock. That was a perfect throw. Watch it. Over your outside shoulder where it can't be knocked down or intercepted.
Richard Blackmore was the Eagle defender who slipped and fell down. We mentioned to you before, it rained all morning. It stopped now.
Maybe a little bit of a light drizzle, but nothing serious. Traction is and should be very good. This is a new artificial surface at Texas Stadium. We were talking to Dick Vermeil before the game, and they had a cover on the field. He said he had never seen this field, and his team had never played on this surface.
Down about the 9-yard line.
And that look of bewilderment on Dave Logan as if say, where he go? So it is 3rd and 6. The ball is just about on the 9-yard line. Pearson coming wide left. Hill and Salty, but now Salty coming towards the line of scrimmage. White going over the middle to Pearson. And make it Tony Hill. Tony Hill making the reception to put Dallas out in front 6-0. Oh, what a beautiful play to watch.
Yeah, terrific play. And there you see Hill just running a slant pass coming down and breaking behind the linebacker. The ball is thrown right where it had to be, not too high. He leaps for the ball between two defenders, holds on, makes the catch. Dallas ahead, 6-0.
Tony Hill had 4 touchdown receptions during the regular year. So he's on the board handling White's touchdown. Danny threw for 22 during the regular season. And now Septien, who was 40 out of 40 in points. Charlie Waters, the hold and the kick is good. So with 12 minutes and 38 seconds left to go in the first half, the Dallas Cowboys on the second interception by Dennis Thurman drive for a touchdown on the pass to Tony Hill. White going to go high down the left side to Tony Hill, and he made the reception for a touchdown. Eric Wright, the rookie out of Missouri, was burned, and Tony Hill makes it look effortless over the shoulder going away.
You can almost tell when they got that field goal a while ago, Pat, and got on the board, they say, well, okay, we're in it, let's go. 2nd down and 6 from the 25. White checks the defense. Back to throw. Short drop, throws long, and it is Hill, and it is a touchdown. Tony Hill caught the ball over the defensive back, Eric Wright, and the Cowboys go on top. And what did Danny White see when he checked that San Francisco defense?
Well, I saw Tony Hill matched up one-on-one with their corner in a bump and run situation. So there wasn't much reading involved. There wasn't much to it other than just drop back and throw it. And we'd done it so many times, so often, that it was like we could do a blindfolded if we needed to.
One pass, and boom, the Cowboys go on top by the score of 9-7 with 2:49 remaining in the first quarter. All of that followed the fumble by Bill Ring just moments ago. Took them 50 seconds to get into the end zone after they recovered the fumble. Septien, who's been perfect all year, will try to make it 10-7. And he does. The Cowboys have the lead. They spotted the 49ers 7 points, and now Dallas is on top with
against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Cowboys scored 4 touchdowns, but lost their first opener since 1964. 36-28.
You see that little thing Tom Landry did? He took his fist and went like that, you know? Yeah. That's the most emotion I've seen from him. I was like, we got him now. Keep it going, guys. Keep it going.
Jay Salvy's in the game now. White looks out to the left, throws to Pearson, and he can throw. And does. For Tony Hill. Has it. Tony Hill. Remarkable catch. Mike McCoy back with him. But Hill spinning around makes the catch.
I tell you, these two teams are pulling everything out today. And we've seen everything. Watch this from ground level. Now, this has to be a lateral, right? So it's a lateral out to Drew Pearson. Used to be a quarterback. Only caught 1 pass all day. He's becoming a blocker, a fighter, and he said, I'll throw it. Look at that move. He looked like a whirling dervish.
A full spinner by Tony Hill. It's 1st and goal, Dallas from the 1.
Tony Hill, what a day he's having.
7 passes caught for Hill. None bigger than that.
Measures to shake his spellbound Cowboys from their hypnotic fog. Hill's 75-yard score cut the Washington lead to 23-10. And while it quieted the RFK faithful, the Redskin offense found itself falling back to earth. The Dallas attack was just taking flight. And it was once again the wings of the fleet Tony Hill which helped the Cowboys soar. Hill's 51-yard hookup from White was his second catch of a scoring bomb in the third quarter and trimmed a once overwhelming Redskin lead to just 23-17. Hill would go on to lead Dallas in receiving yardage for the 6th straight season. And another look at his touchdown shows that Redskin quarterback Anthony Washington, number 24, had Hill in perfect coverage. The White's pass was just a bit more perfect. Hill's catches dropped like a bomb on Washington as the Redskins suddenly...
They just folded up the 10, didn't they? Yeah. That's where we roomed.
Third down. White this time has some time going deep. Has a touchdown to Tony Hill. Mark Haynes fell down. White hit the strike to Hill. And I'm not sure if we look at it again if he wasn't juggling that ball going out of the end zone.
Watch it here again, right in the end zone. See, Mark Haynes, he didn't get a good enough bump on him. Now he trips right there at the goal line, and Hill gets the ball. That is a tough one. That's a very close call. Because, again, he has to have control of the ball in the end zone. I don't know if that left foot was in or not when he had control.
That's close. Nevertheless, it's 7-6, and Septien out of Toronto's hold will try to tie the score. Tony Hill put on a couple of good moves right at the line of scrimmage and got away from Haynes. It's 7-7 with 3:41 left to play in the first quarter. All tied, the Giants and the Cowboys.
Here's where Tony Hill gets open, right here on the line of scrimmage. He makes a little move right here on Mark Haynes and gets outside him right now. Then he gets up there. Of course, Haynes falls down. But the big move is initially. Watch him right here as he comes off the line. He gives him a little thing to the inside. Haynes goes inside. And watch him right up outside. Now he's even with him. Now he's beyond him. And, of course, here's the catch. Does he have control? He looks like he does with his right foot. See, it looks like the right foot's in with control. I don't know if the left foot was in after he had control.
The thing is, his back was to the cornice. You can see why.
Well, everyone that ever plays the Cowboys, every week when we do a Cowboy game, we go, and I always say the number one thing we have to stop is Tony Dorsett. They got a lot of guys looking for him.
Newsom is giving him a rest now on second down. White back to throw, going deep. Tony Hill. Terry Jackson back there with him. Tony Hill will score for Dallas. Another one of those cases where the pass is underthrown, and it works to the advantage of the receiving team. They got him alone.
That's really man-to-man coverage all over the field. As you said, Tony Hill just stopped, came back, caught that ball. Watch, it'll be out here to the left. Pretty good pass protection there. Lawrence Taylor got knocked down. And we see right here, Jackson's in pretty good position. His momentum carries him past Tony Hill. He stops, Hill makes a move there, and goes in for the touchdown.
Danny White's 5th touchdown pass of the day. That ties a club record, which was shared by Eddie LeBaron, Don Meredith, and Craig Morton. 5 touchdown passes for Danny White. Septien adds the extra point, and it's Dallas 38. The Giants 20.
Dallas 20, Philadelphia 13, fourth quarter, 2 minutes remaining. Pat Summerall and John Madden at Veterans Stadium. The Eagles came out on fire. Dallas sort of looked at them and said, if that's the way it's going to be, we can do it too.
touchdown, Tony Hill. Now that performance by Danny White will just tell you what a good athlete he is.
That's right. You know, they talk about Danny White. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. But I'll tell you, he makes things happen. Watch this. It's a screen pass. He's going to try and throw the screen pass to Dorsett, 33 out here. Watch him. He's out there. He's covered. He can't touch. So he said, okay, I'll scramble a little, look downfield, see what I have. Oh, there's a guy right there. Tony Hill, touchdown. Now, that's a heck of a play. When you call a screen pass in the huddle and you throw a touchdown in the end zone to another guy, that's good awareness.
Raphael Septien out of Toronto's hold. Dallas 26 now. Philadelphia 13. Septien makes it 27-13. 1:51 left to play. .36 yards, 7 plays. They kept the ball 4 minutes, 48 seconds, and they lead 27-13.
With Dick Vermeil, this is Frank Lever at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego as we head into the final period. With the Chargers leading the Cowboys 24-9. Dallas 3rd and 4 at the 35 of San Diego. Out of the shotgun, a lot of pressure. Tony Hill still in bounds. That's a touchdown. Yards on the touchdown.
This is really a nice play. Actually, the defender did a good job, but he didn't knock him down when he went for the ball. He went for the interception. See him drive for the interception, misses it. Tony does a nice job of staying inbounds, heading upfield. Now he's going to start celebrating before he gets there. Look at this. You know, this guy has been scoring this year a touchdown every 4th pass he catches.
That's the rookie, Danny Walters from Arkansas, that he beat. That is White's 2nd touchdown pass of the afternoon. Septien on to try the extra point.
Great example of good body balance on contact. Didn't knock him off balance. He regained it quickly, and up the sideline he goes.
Glenn Carano, the Cowboys' forgotten man at quarterback, will hold. Septien missed the first one, but drills this one through. And look out. Here come the Cowboys with 14:53 left to play in the game. It's San Diego by 8.
The 14-yard line of the 49ers. Defensive holding. Cowboys shuffling a lot of offensive line folks back and forth. Howard Wilkes now back in. For Kurt Peterson over at right guard. And the Nixon out there going to match the top Michael, who is taken out in the first half. All right. Uncover, somebody uncover. Do something to somebody. Tony Hill out for taking 10 seconds. Tony went both ways. He was open coming to his right, he went back to his left, and he came back to his right, finally shook his man. That's what you got to do. He had plenty of time. And he got uncovered on him. This is going to be fun to watch. Tony Hill down at the bottom. That's Butch Johnson up at the top. Danny White is the quarterback. So let's watch him go. Actually, he was trying to get the ball to Ron Springs and fly out of the backfield. But he was probably taking to anybody, right? Oh, anybody. He's lazy now, but he's going to do what we used to call the Madison. Stop, go back. Look at Tony Hill. And then he comes back again and says, well, you give me a break. That's Dwight Hicks, and I can keep up with him, but then I can't do that. It's time to throw. It's like an aerobic dance in the end zone. Set the end for the conversion. Again, hits it through the uprights, and the Cowboys working their way back into it. They trail now, 28-17. All right, Tony.
But still 21 seconds remaining left to play in the first half. 1st and 10 Cowboys at the Ram 14. Danny White has had his visit to Tom Landry. 12 out of 20 he is for 117 yards. This is the deepest the Cowboys have been into Los Angeles territory all day. And a very concerned John Robinson. I wonder if he had a chance to go for that first down again, if he'd change his mind.
Under the same circumstance, he'd probably go for it again. But now, knowing that it wasn't going to work, what he knows now, he wouldn't have.
Right. That's our luxury, isn't it?
White, Hill, touchdown. What a throw by Danny White. Talk about threading the needle. Tony Hill's 7th catch already. Raphael Septien with Glenn Carano holding. Rafferty is the center. Septien is good. We have a tie.
Danny White really did zip that thing. It starts off here, good pass protection. Get the nose tackle. Now he can step up. He reads it. Boom, right in between 3 guys. He drilled that thing in there. Here it is again. Here's Eric Harris. He's the outside man. You see, he's starting to work inside, and that ball is zipped right where no one can do anything about it. Tom Landry on that. He says, finally, something good is going to happen. I'm going to jump up a little. I'll show you some emotion. You want emotion? There is some emotion. I'll give you a little
Really wasn't. That wasn't much of a jump.
For Tom, it was a good
yeah,
jump.
I guess it was. 70 yards, 6 plays. They kept it 51 seconds. Danny White.
Operates a lot of running backs. And it puts Dorsett at the head of the class. He's busted some good ones here today, but he is also, as you're very well aware if you've been with us from the outset, fumbled the ball to the Colts twice in the game, stopping Dallas drives. Getting the yards, but he's taken some hard hits and giving it back. First and 10, Dallas. Danny White with a deep drop. Going long for the end zone. Touchdown. Tony Hill is in there for a Cowboy score. No flag. 38 yards and a Dallas touchdown. He came back, the offense came back. You're right. And what this has been set up by are those short patterns run by the receivers. You see, Hill just splits the free safety and the cornerback, and in a foot race, the Indianapolis Colts defensive backs are not great speed people. Tony Hill is. Well thrown, too, by Danny White. He's thrown the ball with great finesse today, right on the money. He really has. Danny White having a big day, and finally the Cowboys crack the end zone. First touchdown reception of the year for Tony Hill, 38 yards out. Raphael Septien, an automatic man on the extra points, drills it up and through, and so it's 9:53 to play in the first half. The Dallas Cowboys finally strike, going into the end zone from way out on the throw. The touchdown, Tony Hill.
Time on that game, so it's a late game, and John Madden and I will be there in St. Louis next week. Hogaboom is going to work on first down. Wide open is Tony Hill. Touchdown.
Well, you know, it was just a matter of time before they started to go to Tony Hill. He's the guy, as Tom Landry said, he's the guy on our offense that scares the defense. Watch a little play fake to the right, turn back, find Tony Hill running a post pattern, and he's wide open. No one around him. He can get open.
He knows how. Septien with Hogaboom holding. Gives Dallas the lead. It's 7-6. They went 30 yards in that one play. It took the Cowboys 5 seconds to get on top of the scoreboard. 7-6 they lead with 5:11 left to play first half.
Cornerbacks. Rod Rust alternating those corners. Lippett in for a while, Gibson in for a while, but both have had trouble covering the Cowboy receivers. Danny White, what did he say yesterday? He said, I'm going to play this game as if it's the very last game of my life. He said, this is serious. We've got to get this thing turned around. The Cowboys have responded to the challenge today. Third and goal at the 9.
for 6. He's got it. Tony Hill. His third touchdown this year, Tony Hill on a perfect strike from Danny White. This will be a similar play to what Danny White just hit. The man in motion will come out here. Hill just folds up and breaks to the inside. Touchdown inside. Good release, gets inside of the defensive back. Fifth catch for Tony Hill. 101 yards for the top yardage maker for Dallas today, and Septien adds the extra point. Let's go back and look at Tony Hill. Now, the first job he has to do is to get away from the brush on the line. Limpet is trying to keep him outside. Hill did a good job of giving him a little fake and breaking hard to the inside to make that play possible. A little double move. Outstanding play by Hill. Best coverage on that play by our cameraman. Tony Hill has been the top yardage man receiving the last 6 seasons for Dallas. Has 101 yards today and a touchdown. It's 17-3, and the pressure now on New England with 3:03 left in the third.
Well, Joe Gibbs said to us last night, it's too bad these games can't be 2 out of 3, but they're not. And it boils down to 1 quarter. Right on first down. Going for Tony Hill, and he's got him. Touchdown! Blitz, and White and Hill read it as it should be read. Septien for the extra point. Over to moving. Got it.
2 minutes remaining in the game. The Dallas Cowboys with the football at the 35-yard line, or just shy of that at the 34. They have a first down and 10. They have 3 timeouts remaining. They have struggled all night offensively. They have fought valiantly defensively, as they have over the past 3 weeks. But the Miami defense has also reappeared tonight. Perhaps the lack of efficiency on the part of the Dallas offense could be more of a credit to the defense of Miami. First and 10. Danny White fires. Was he in bounds? That's another Franco Harris move. On the sidelines, Tony Hill. And what a stunning completion. Hill, not the intended receiver. Referee called it back. And they are going to bring it back, I believe. And that call, a courageous one by the official. He called it real late. His flag is on about the 25-yard line, 27-yard line. Much further downfield than the reception was made. He's in trouble. Dick Creed is the official, the side judge. He was right there in position to see what transpired. We think. Stunning situation. That's number 61. That's Dick Creed. He's the side judge. He'll try to work it out with Pat Haggerty. And here is referee Pat Haggerty. The ball was stripped. The player came back in bounds legally and caught the ball for a touchdown. All right. Oh, my God. Back in bounds, 66-yard touchdown. Well, the official obviously didn't see the tip. He just knew the player is not allowed to go out of bounds and come in and catch the ball. Let's take a look. The intended receiver was, I can assure you, not Tony Hill.
And here's the tip. And here, right there.
Oh, it's amazing.
Tony was just standing there.
James Jones was the intended receiver. The ball tipped away, and there goes Tony Hill, and we are a conversion point away from a tie ball game.
You know, they were playing a zone, and I can't understand how Tony could have gotten knocked out of bounds before that time.
Well, he's back inbounds, and we're going for overtime. Rafael Septian to tie it up. Tied again with 1:47 remaining in the game. And Giants players, fans, staff, I hope you didn't leave early.
Let's see them both again.
Intended receivers, James Jones. Out of the way.
The ball was actually thrown behind James. Not a good throw. It was tipped.
Don McNeil
by McNeil, and he says, "Oh gosh, I should have had it."
Look what I found.
And McNeil's not even looking behind him, and there's Tony Hill has got the ball. They're on the 50-yard line, standing right there, number 80, catches the ball clean. And just stay in bounds, Tony. Just stay in bounds. Why wouldn't he come to the middle of the field? Don't make me nervous, Tony.
Oh, I can't believe that. 1:47 remaining. The Dolphins have 3 timeouts. Tony Hill, he has made so many big plays over the years. Missed the first 5 games this season. Injured shoulder in our game earlier. Second game of the season against the Rams.
The crowd noise in here is unbelievable.
Good coverage. Tony Hill out there being bump and run coverage by Bobby Watkins. They're just working out there. He's not a primary receiver in the patterns. He's being used as a decoy, and he's taking advantage of the play off, it looks like right there.
Would you rather your receivers run hard on all the patterns?
Well, we never had a decoy type pattern. They were always live on every pattern.
3rd down and 7. The ball's on the 11. The crowd is calling for some defense. Shotgun, Hogaboo. The blitz is on. Hogaboo touchdown. Tony Hill. Touchdown on the slant, and Hogaboo is down on the deck again.
Little quick post move. You see he's being played inside by Bobby Watkins. He steps outside, stutters, gets him to widen, comes back underneath him. Touchdown. Really a nice job of beating the bump and run coverage, and not a real good job of bump and run by Bobby Watkins. Maybe favoring that sore arch.
Some drive by Hogaboo. Came right out, finding Tony Hill. 9 plays, they put him in there. Septian's extra point is solid and straight. Everybody beginning to sit a little further out on the edge of their seats. Touchdown, Tony Hill. Detroit 26, Dallas 7. Man in the middle. Drew Pearson on the left, the great Cowboy receiver, and Tony Hill.
Drew is doing a little coaching for him right now, and I tell you, he's doing a little pumping up the enthusiasm over there. I saw Hill come off the field. Drew runs over and grabs him and hugs him and all that kind of stuff. That kind of emotion you don't see very often on a Dallas Cowboy sideline, Tom. It might be good for him.
Especially working with those young receivers, Poe and Gonzalez. He'll help them. And high for Tony Hill. A 44-yard TD dash. Don't go away. There's 6:41 on that clock. Oh, what a move.
What a move was right.
Berezhnikov. Hogenboom has started to light it up. We'll get the numbers on what he's done so far here in just a moment. The Dallas offense struggled and struggled.
It was a safety blitz, and they just popped it to him. Here's McNorton coming off. That arch is probably really bothering him right now. It's bound to get tired. Actually, McNorton was an ankle. That 2 starters have come off here in the last few seconds.
Hogenboom is 9 of 12 that's taking over in the 4th for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dallas is in the game. Septian holding. Hogenboom now holding. It's straight. What are you going to do, Coach? 26-14.
Say this, I wouldn't do any blitzing. get that single coverage like that, you know, and you're just asking for trouble. It's great when it works, but if not, you get that isolation one-on-one. He catches a little hot receiver pass, reverse pivots, and runs it in for 6. Look how quick this is now. You're right down there with him. You're chasing him. You can see right down there, field level, how much quicker the game really appears to be than when you sit up in the stands or you watch it on television.
Appears to be. It is faster down there. Especially on this Silver Dome surface. You're shot out of guns on this. Randy Logan, your old Eagle safety man's right behind me, and he just nodded. That's exactly right. This is a fast track here.
It is a fast track. A great place to play football, this stadium.
11 catches. The high, as we told you earlier, for Tony Hill. He's had 200-yard reception days, though, but 2 touchdown catches.
Do bring a linebacker, they would love to get a running back trying to pass protect on him. Carl Poe comes in, wide receiver, rookie from Alabama State, number 81. The Cowboys very high on this youngster. He joins Tony Hill outside with Mike Renfro. You have to watch Gus Crosby down here, however, the big tight end. Left on again, White takes out of the pocket. Back of the end zone, all alone, Tony Hill. Back of the end zone, Tony Hill able to stay in bounds. Danny Whitehead brought the defense up with a roll to the right, and Tony was there all alone. But Danny White certainly did the job here. He bought the time by running right. He was trapped back there and found the open receiver. Just a good play on Danny's part and a good play on Tony's part. Good concentration by Hill. Comes down with the touchdown, and the Cowboys are out in front. Early going in the first quarter. Raphael Septien on for the conversion. Drive starting with a giant fumble. Joe Morris near the 44-yard line of the Giants. The Cowboys convert the turnover. They lead 7-0 as Tony Hill, with his 44th career touchdown, puts the Cowboys out front. Principal threat at the wide receiver, Tony Hill. All-time receiver, and has led.
Schultz's man.
No, let me tell you what happens. You get a read on a team like the Cowboys, play action. They get awfully. They just can't stand themselves. They've got to get in that end zone, Vern. They love play action. They had a read on them. They came out and they blitz. Schultz goes in down inside to pick up the end, and then the linebacker streak.
First sack of the day. It'll be second down. 4-man rush. Now a delayed rush from the linebacker. Here's Hill. 6 points.
Eason again, number 20, has Hill man-for-man, driving and drive. See the inside position by Eason? That's to protect the post. Hill did an excellent job of faking the corner route and then coming back underneath Eason to make the touchdown grab. Eason had the position that time, but he didn't stay outside. Kaysen, I mean. Where'd I come up with Eason?
Ricky Eastman. Eastman and Kaysen, a couple of free agent rookies are out there. That's understandable. They just play on different sides. Here's the kick from Septien. It's 10-7. Cowboys go 81 yards, 7 plays, 35 yards in the touchdown toss. Tony Hill from Danny White.
Young as a rookie. You look at Freddie Joe Nunn as a rookie, and you look at Nicky Noga, guys in his second year. So they got a lot to build on here.
Third down and 2. Cowboys have been inside their opponent's 20-yard line 30 times, 11 times. They have come away without even getting a point. They got 5 interceptions, 3 fumbles. They've been stopped going down twice. Third and 2. Danny White fires into the end zone. Tony Hill, touchdown Dallas. And Danny White made a great effort to get that ball off. Look at the pressure on Danny White. Well, Tony just fights his way through Cedric Mack and finds the open spot here. Cedric didn't quite get to the ball. Leonard Smith was pressuring Danny White. Fairly good coverage by Mack, number 47. Good effort by both Danny White and Tony Hill. And the Cowboys put some points on the board with 56 seconds remaining in the first half. And here's Septien for the conversion. Dallas started this drive deep in their own territory, and it winds up an 8-yard touchdown pass. Danny White to Tony Hill. Tony Hill, who's having a great year. Into the night, 47 receptions. That was his 5th touchdown. Gives us a moment to show you action from around the league yesterday.
7 out there. That must be the 7 route, the corner route for Renfro. And he came back, looked at him all the way, and whack, threw it to him.
First down, Dallas at the St. Louis 16. Cardinals leading it by 3, 17-14.
Drive right there. Tony Hill's the slot guy. He's going to start up and then run inside. You see what he started doing? He started Jeff Griffin up, then made Griffin turn, and then he cut right back inside him for the slam.
And the touchdown. And Dallas moves back in the lead now, 2017. Septien for the extra point. Out of the hands of Hogaboom. 1:08 left to play in the first half. An exciting first half, and Dallas up by 4.
Dorsett. No, he can't either now. Dorsett was probably 4'4". He could race him.
Whoopee. Except he's 40 pounds bigger. Tony Hill, touchdown Dallas. 53 yards away. Cedric Mack. And I got to see that again. There was some pushing and shoving going on there.
Well, Cedric Mack held up somehow. He started to pull up or stop. Tony Hill kept going and ran right by him. Remember yesterday they said if there's one guy they were going to work on, it would be the left corner, Cedric Mack. Now watch it. Mack has him here. Now right in here, he pulls up. You see right there, Mack stopped. He thought the ball was in the air. I wonder if Hill gave him a fake by looking or said ball or something. Because Mack stopped looking to play the ball in the middle of the route.
I think when Tony Hill looked back, he pulled up thinking the ball was going to be short. Same thing happened to him last week against Lionel Manning. That extra point was partially blocked, but Raphael Septien still got it through, and it's good. Leonard Smith got a hand on it. Cowboys 28-17.
What a game that ought to be. The Raiders, can you believe it, facing 0-3? Wow. 2 tough losses on the road to Denver and to Washington in games they could have won, but now they're home against another tough foe. Kenny Johnson, veteran number 37, replaces Wendell Cason at strong safety. 2nd and 6 for the Cowboys. They're at the 7. Danny White drills it. Hill, touchdown. Going at it a bit. Give credit that time to both Danny White and Tony Hill. We talked before how well they know each other. Watch Tony break to the inside and he catches this with his fingertips. Watch him stretch for the football. Oh, pretty. Pretty. But now Case goes after it. Tony Hill, watch it. He's going to try to spike the ball. Case is going to grab it and say, no, you're not. That's a great way to start a fight. And we're tied at 27 on Tony Hill's first touchdown reception of the year. And Raphael Septien will try to give the Cowboys the lead again in this back and forth affair. He does, with 1:18 remaining in the third quarter. Dallas leads again.
Tremendous speed. We saw one right before the end of the half where they threw him a little flare pass. They scissor blocked downfield the wide receivers, and it just about broke for a big one.
Cowboys at the 13-yard line.
Both teams with impressive drives at the outset of period 3 from the 13th. Fake draw. Danny White lost it for the end zone. And he has Hill for the touchdown. Tony Hill. And the Cardinals, who get to within 3, are now going to be back again by 10.
So many different dimensions to this offense. You can see why they came into tonight having scored at least 30 or more points in each of their first 3 games. They've never done that in the history of the franchise, but they are explosive. And a lot of it is number 34, Herschel Walker. You got to think Walker all the time he's out on the field, I believe. Tony Hill had coverage there by Lionel Washington, and the Cardinals again know that he is the man they're going to be after. They tried to help him with the linebacker. It just didn't work.
So Banks with that great run back to set him up, and then in 4 plays, in they go, and Raphael Septien continues to be perfect in 1986, both in field goals and in extra points. And there's Tony Hill, 62 consecutive games in which he has caught a pass.
And you can do so many things. Your little play-action fake to Herschel Walker, that rivets everyone. You try to double cover this man, Tony Hill. He beats the man he's been working on all night. They made it look just as easy as the Cardinals drive.
He and Clasby, of course, played together at Notre Dame, right? They know each other too well, maybe. 3rd down and 16.
Work against each other all day long, the spring ball and the season.
Almost a little more room for a pass offense to operate in. White going for the corner. That's Tony Hill. Tony Hill, the slant out, a 20-yard touchdown reception for number 80.
Super execution, Tom, of quarterback, wide receiver timing. Actually, Washington did a pretty nice job of physically covering Tony Hill, but the ball was put where he couldn't get to it, but the receiver could.
And no pressure on Danny White. He has so much time now, he could almost get his nails done before he throws it. Septien on the field. Leroy holds it. Boy, is he striking that ball.
Here's Danny White, going to go straight back. See the rush starting to develop. Good spin techniques going on inside. He has all the time he needs. Now the ball's going to be going to the left corner of your screen. And there he just broke for the flag at the last second. Touchdown.
Tony Hill makes another great catch. 27-3.
Tony Hill is one of the most successful players in Cowboys history. He helped lead the Cowboys to 5 conference championship games in 6 years. He was explosive, clutch.
Tony Hill. Tony Hill will score for Dallas.
A deep threat assassin.
Staubach faces a blitz and has time and goes deep for Tony Hill and got him. Touchdown Dallas.
And arguably the most talented receiver of those late 70s and early 80s teams. But just how good was he when we evaluate his career? In this video, I will do the most extensive research on Hill's career that you ever seen. This video is going to shock some of you. What you thought you knew about Hill is going to change. Hill was selected out of Stanford in 1977 in the 3rd round and immediately made an impact on special teams. But outside of a few punts and kickoff returns, he hardly had playing time. It wasn't until the next season that Hill caught the league by storm. He had 823 yards and 6 touchdowns, which was 12th in the league. Not impressive, right? Well, those numbers are inflated. I'll prove it to you. Notice how Hill had 46 receptions that season. That was 28th in the league. 28th? Yup, 28. So I decided to research the top 28 receivers and receptions in 1978. And I was shocked. If we're just measuring Hill's valued production based on the opportunities that were given to him, he had over 800 yards with under 50 receptions. The only receivers who had more or similar yards based on receptions were Wesley Walker, Reggie Rucker, Mill Gray, Stanley Morgan, John Stallworth, and James Lofton. Based on Hill's yards per reception that season, if he had caught just 12 or more receptions, that would have been enough for at least 4th in the league in yards that season, in just his first season starting. But of course, he had to share with the legend Drew Pearson, who didn't have a bad season that year either. Now keep in mind, whenever I do these videos, I always look at value over stats. And here's what I mean. Sometimes raw stats can be inflated. A receiver can have a lot of yards because of a high number of targets or catches. On the other hand, sometimes a receiver can be unstoppable where the offense will just feed their guy over and over again during the season. So there will always be an argument on yards manipulation with receivers who have high target seasons. But here's where it's almost always inflated. When a receiver has a lot of yards on a few receptions. Most likely, as I said before, receivers who have a lot of targets will generally have a lot of yards, but rarely do you ever see someone have low receptions but have a lot of yards, unless their production is elite too. For example, other than the ones that I already mentioned, I looked up receivers in 1978 who had catches ranging from 40 to 49. PFR counted 24 players. None of them had over 800 yards. This proves two of my points. One, receivers with low catches will typically have low yards. Two, Tony Hill's production or receptions had elite value, more than those receivers with a high number of targets and yards.
Motion, number 88. Staubach, play action fake. Looking for Tony Hill, he's wide open. Touchdown. 6 points, Tony Hill. Staubach puts one up in the direction of Tony Hill. This should be 6. Tony Hill's second touchdown of the night.
How do you like that?
9th of the season. And it comes from 75 yards out.
Excellence of the quarterback, the excellence of the receiver.
It's the second time tonight that I've seen really a receiver wide open.
Receivers with a high amount of yards but low catches and targets most of the time mean one thing: he needs to be involved in the offense more because he is highly productive with fewer opportunities, which is exactly what happened the next season. In 1979, his receptions increased by 14, and just like we calculated the season prior, had Dallas given him at least 12 more receptions, he would have had a 1,000-yard season. Well, in 79, he had a 1,000-yard season because he did get those 12 or 14 receptions. Although PFR didn't calculate targets in the 70s or 80s, I think it's rational to believe that his yards and receptions increased because his targets increased. But here's what's interesting. His 60 receptions were outside of the top 10 just like the previous season. In fact, if we look at the top 10 receivers not counting Steve Largent, because he had a monster season that year on just 66 receptions, Drew Pearson had a monster year as well. Had Pearson caught just 10 more receptions, he could have easily been in the top 5 in yards that season. Outside of those receivers, the same could be applied to Hill. With more receptions, Hill would have had a top 5 receiver value as well for the second season in a row.
The throw, he's a left-hander, wide open, Tony Hill, touchdown.
Hill picked up where he left off in the 1980 season.
17-0 in the second quarter. 8 minutes, 19 seconds left to play in the second quarter. Long pass, Tony Hill. He's got a touchdown for Tony Hill.
For consecutive seasons, he had 1,000 yards, which was the first time that a Cowboys receiver did it since the days of Bob Hayes in the 60s. But again, among those receivers, he had the lowest receptions but the highest yards per reception. If you look at the value of his production compared to the rest of his peers, Hill was a top 5 receiver in football for the third straight season. He made the best out of what he was given. And in 1981, Hill was battling injuries that kept him out of 2 games and kept him from starting in 6 games.
Second down and 3. Flea flicker. There'll be a man wide open. Tony Hill.
Okay, there it is.
But ultimately, the same principle applied again. Outside of Stanley Morgan, Hill was the only receiver in the league with less than 50 receptions who had over 950 yards receiving. He was tied for 4th in the league in yards per reception, with 20 yards per catch.
19-10. 5:30 remaining in the second quarter. White up on top. Tony Hill wide open. Look out! Watch out! Tony Hill's gone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. 63-yard touchdown pass on a third down situation.
Not much rush. You watch Tony Hill here. Made a good move. Caught the ball, and then Rod Perry runs by him.
Although I wouldn't put his production at a top 5 value that season, still, 950 yards on less than 50 receptions shows how dominant he was. In fact, from 1982 to 1984, he only played in 32 games and started in just 28. Those 32 games are a difference in the 2-season stretch. In those 32 games, Hill had a combined 2,191 yards, which was still pretty impressive. That's basically 2 seasons with an average of almost 1,100 yards. Although not as productive as his previous seasons, Hill has some of his best games in that stretch.
Ball inside the 25-yard line. Play action by Danny White. Looking for the bomb to Tony Hill, and he'll be there. This is going to be 6 points for Tony Hill, and that's what the Dallas Cowboys were looking for. They are explosive, and they can come back from the shotgun. Danny White going for Tony Hill. One hand touchdown, Dallas. About a step. Ball had to be right there. That is amazing.
In '85, Hill led his most successful season in terms of stats.
Second down, 4. Newsom in motion. Flag is down. Free play for White. Caught by Tony Hill. If the play stands, Tony Hill has now set a single season record of 74 catches. He breaks a tie he had with Ron Springs. And that also is the 59th consecutive game in which he has caught a pass, breaking a tie he held with Drew Pearson.
It was Landry's last year having a playoff team, and Hill was a huge factor in that success. Now, let's get into something really interesting. I came up with an idea. Hill's best season was over 111 games, starting from the first game of his first season as a starter in 1978, which was stretched to 1985. Those were his prime seasons. How many yards did he gain in that stretch? And if I decided to look up other receivers of that decade and era and research their first 111 games starting from their first season as a starter going deep into their prime, where would Hill stack up? What I found was shocking. If you go on any website, look for the top 5 receivers of the 80s. I'm pretty sure these receivers will most likely be in the top 5. So I researched each of these wide receivers' first 111 games, starting from their first season as a starter. One of the requirements that I had was that the player had to play at least 5 years in the 80s, since Tony Hill played the majority of his career in the 80s. So I went and researched Tony Hill's 111 games from 1978 to 1985, and I was shocked. It wasn't because I didn't believe that he was good. Obviously, he was a great receiver, but I didn't know he was this good. Hill had 7,197 receiving yards. But let's go further. Comparing receivers who played between 1980 to 1985, Hill was the only receiver to have 5,000 yards or more while having under 330 receptions in that period. Wow. Hill was one of the most efficient and explosive receivers to ever play. From the moment that he stepped onto the football field, Hill was a bona fide star. He ended his career as the all-time leader in receptions and yards in Cowboys history. Along with Michael Irvin, he was the only receiver on the franchise to lead their team in yards for 7 consecutive seasons. Hill is one of the most underrated receivers in the history of the Dallas Cowboys franchise. And if no one else is it, I will. Thank you, Tony Hill, for all of the memories. You will forever be a Cowboy legend. Until next time, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching.
There have been Bob Hayes and Michael Irvin, Frank Clark, Des Bryant, even Amari Cooper and C.D. Lamb, and of course, Drew Pearson, wide receiver legends past and present in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. And there is also, undoubtedly, Tony Hill.
The one thing I remember about Tony Hill is he was so competitive all the time.
I can't remember a game where he had a bad game. I can't remember a game where he's uncharacteristically missing passes. You know, he was just as solid as any receiver that we've ever had in Dallas Cowboys history.
Oh gosh, he was blessed. He was a blessed athlete.
Often overlooked among the pantheon of greats who played the position for America's team, Tony Hill is nonetheless a wide receiver who deserves recognition. A player whose statistics rank among and even lead his Cowboys peers.
He might have been one of the most consistent receivers in Cowboys history. He led them in receptions and receiving yards for 9 straight years. That's unprecedented.
I didn't want to be benched. I never enjoyed the idea of being benched, and that's kind of what set me aside. I think it was the drive, the determination, and the goal and the attitude that just made me want to be the best.
Hill's road to the NFL began in Long Beach, California, where he grew up sharing the passion for the game with his father, Leroy.
My father was a huge football fan, and living in California, you know, football started at 10 a.m. on Sundays, you know, and then 1 o'clock the next game and 3 o'clock the next game. So we got abundance of football, and basically we just took it out to the backyard or to the park or in the streets, and essentially my love was the same love that he had. So it's been an ongoing relationship.
His dad was in the military, and I remember him pointing out, saying that, you know, my dad would always say, if you're not out there to try to be the best, then why are you out there at all?
I always believed, and that was really my long-range goal, was to be a professional football player. I was just fortunate I had a father that loved sports and a mom that required, you know, the academic side piece of it, and so it was a dual scenario. So I mean, if I didn't fulfill one area, then I'd be benched on the other area.
He was a star pitcher at famed Polytechnic High School, once striking out 18 batters in a game. But where Tony Hill really shined was at quarterback for the Jackrabbits, a program that also produced NFL stars like Deshaun Jackson, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Willie McGinnis.
They've had more professional football players than any high school in the country, and so I would say, I don't want to say we're a powerhouse, I just think we're an NFL factory. How about that?
Hill would soon move up the California coast, enrolling at Stanford, where he would make the switch to wide receiver.
Stanford coach Jack Christensen is blessed with one of the nation's leading receivers in Tony Hill. Hill caught 55 passes during the '75 season, gained more yards through pass receptions than any other Pac-8 player, and turned 7 of those grabs into touchdowns. He appears destined to break all of Stanford's career passing receiving records at a school where the pass is a way of life.
He would leave 4 years later with 140 career receptions, 2,225 receiving yards, and 18 touchdown catches, all of which school records at the time.
Quiet down a little bit, please.
The NFL now awaited. After taking Heisman Trophy winner Tony Dorsett with the second overall pick in the 1977 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys would later select Tony Hill in the 3rd round. He was ready, or so he thought.
Well, when I came in, I think I was the youngest guy in the NFL, so I was 20 years old when I was drafted by the Cowboys, and you know, I talked way back, but I probably had a mispreconceived notion of what was supposed to be expected. I came in with the thoughts of, I came in thinking that I was going to be a starter. You know, I think that I was going to make a difference on the team, and of course, I was humbled with, you know, that particular year.
The Dallas Cowboys Legends Show is presented by AT&T. Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl.
Coming into the draft out of Stanford, he was injured that last year. So he ended up being a 3rd round pick. And kind of getting to know Tony Hill later in his career, I'm sure that grinded on him. Like, I'm better than the 3rd round pick. And he was pretty good at Stanford, by the way. As a matter of fact, ended up in the Stanford Sports Hall of Fame.
Not that it really mattered to the Cowboys in his first season of 1977. This was a team built for a championship with Pro Bowlers and even future Hall of Famers dotted throughout the lineup. It was a tough situation for a first-year player.
I was a California guy, you know, come from a wide open liberal persona, you know, and you know, I think I was one of those that had a different beat, you know. I was just pretty wide open, and I'm sure the guys would tell you that. And so to come to a conservative, stringent, well, I don't say rigid coach because he was set in his ways, was a challenge.
To take 3 years to get into the lineup was not unusual at all. That probably meant he was right on track, and Tom would have said, if he was a Pro Bowler when he started in his 3rd year, Tom would have said, see, that's exactly what we believed would happen all along.
Surrounded by greatness, Hill played primarily on special teams as a rookie, returning punts and kickoffs while recording only 2 catches for 21 yards on offense. But he was still a part of a team that would become a Super Bowl champion in 1977.
It was phenomenal. I'd never played in any bowl games whatsoever, for that matter, even being a championship. You know, Stanford, we were always bucking for second and third in my division over there, and so, you know, this was it was a dream come true.
He didn't play much his rookie year, but the second year, he beats out Golden Richards along with Butch Johnson for the starting job. And I'm sure he probably thought, well, I should have had that the year before.
The bottom line is that, you know, I was with a bunch of legends, you know, and I was just rolling, you know, I was enjoying the wave. You know, it was one of those rides that, you know, never forget. And, you know, coming to Dallas at that point in time, you just couldn't ask for anything better. Playing with your idol in terms of Roger Staubach, you know, it was a phenomenal experience.
To say Hill's second season was a breakout would be an understatement. He was named to his first Pro Bowl after he led the Cowboys with 823 receiving yards, helping Dallas to again reach the Super Bowl, where it would lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I gave my second ring to my dad because I thought, like, hey, you know what? We're going. You know, this you know, hey, Dad, you know, this is yours. Although it wasn't a winner, this is yours. You keep this because I'm going to be getting a few more. And I shared it with my dad. That must have been the omen because, you know, I gave you that last ring, and, you know, we went to 5 NFC championship games, and we should have won all of them, to be quite frank, you know, in my opinion. And as a result, you know, we never got back over that hurdle.
The 1979 season would see the Cowboys become the first team in NFL history to feature 2 1,000-yard receivers in Hill and Drew Pearson, as well as a 1,000-yard rusher in Tony Dorsett. For his effort, Hill would earn his second Pro Bowl invite. The highlight of that 1979 effort, though, came in the regular season finale, a winner-take-all showdown against rival Washington.
The 79 Dallas-Washington game in December, for my money, still the best football game I've ever seen. So many Hall of Famers on the field, back and forth. The winner was going to win the division. The loser was running the risk of missing the playoffs, which is what happened to Washington.
He's gone to the 20, the 10, he's still on his feet, touchdown!
Cowboys fall behind 34-21, a little bit more than 6 minutes to go, and in typical Staubach fashion, he brings them back. They score a touchdown, get it within 1 score.
After Dallas defensive tackle Larry Cole stopped John Riggins behind the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 2, Washington was forced to punt. The Cowboys took over at their own 25-yard line with only 1 minute 46 seconds on the clock. No timeouts, down 34-28.
And Roger drives them all the way down to the field, and they get to the 8-yard line, 1st and goal. There's like 9 seconds to go, 8 seconds to go in the game.
The best part of that play is a story that I heard Staubach tell many, many years later. It wasn't the play Tom Landry sent in. Landry sent in a little post pass to the tight end, which he had sent in against Washington in Washington just a few weeks before, and Washington intercepted the ball in the end zone. And Landry was stubborn. He wanted that play again.
It was a 16 pass, and so I told Tony, I said, Tony, make a good fake inside and go to the corner. He said, no, he was just supposed to be out there, so he wasn't really into play. It was more of a strong side play. I just told Tony as we broke the huddle, I said, Tony, make a good move on him and go to the outside. So if someone's dogging you have the fake inside and go to the outside. And so it worked out, and I did throw it. It was a good throw and a good catch. Yeah.
And he catches one over his head like this for the winning touchdown, which turned out to be the winning touchdown, and they win 35-34 and go into the playoffs.
You had the improbability of what they'd done, the legend of Staubach throwing the pass to Tony Hill. It was really, it's still my favorite moment.
While today's Cowboys boast a pair of standout receivers in Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, the greatest wideout tandem in franchise history was perhaps the dynamic duo of Tony Hill and Drew Pearson.
As a college guy, you know, Cowboys was my favorite team. So, you know, obviously you're watching Drew Pearson and Roger Staubach, and again, you got your idol there. It's just a natural feel. You know, if you're in college and you're the receiver, you look for somebody to pattern yourself after, and Drew, you know, fit in that category.
When you talked about Pearson and Hill, there literally weren't enough footballs to go around for wide receivers.
It was competitive between the two of us, you know. I mean, hey, look, you know, and I say competitive in a good way, from the standpoint that, you know, we weren't wishing anybody any ill, you know, like you don't get any passes, I don't get any passes. Is that what are we going to do when we get those passes?
Competitive indeed. Some would even call it a rivalry between Hill and Pearson, albeit a friendly one.
You know, I strive to get that number one position over there, and I was always concerned because I was behind Drew, and you know, and I told Drew kind of one of those things that, and again, this is youth, that, you know, the only reason he's starting in front of me is it's like when you're at Stanford, nobody was going to start in front of me, and essentially he said, hey, young buck, you know, if you want a job, you better go on the other end, and essentially Coach Landry moved me over there, and you know, that was you know, the best thing that ever happened.
Drew was on his way to being an all-decade performer, and the hierarchy was what it was.
Because he came in '77, and now you're taking opportunities away from me, but you're creating opportunities for yourself, but you're also at the same time making the team better, because now we got more balance in the passing game, and everybody's not tilted to my side. So now when it's time to go to me, I might get the man coverage, and Tony's getting the double coverage over here.
Look, Pearson had earned the regard in which he was held by Tony Hill and other players. I mean, Hail Mary had happened, and they had begun to emerge as one of the real powers in the league, and Drew Pearson was one of the reasons why.
Their friendly competition even extended to off the field.
You know, if anything that I tried to pattern myself off with Drew is how he dressed, man. Drew was what we say clean. Every time I saw Drew, you know, every game, you know, he upped my game. In terms of, from the standpoint, I never dressed like, I can't even stand, I'm dressed like this right here when I'm coming with Drew's, and three-piece, tie, the fro was looking good.
Tony Hill come to the locker room, you know, 5 minutes before time to go out, he throws his stuff off, he's ready to go. You know, but I had to get the wristbands right, I had to get the socks right, you know, I had to make sure I got to look in the mirror, you know, the afro, is it picked out, you know, and all that. Then I hit the field.
My deal was that, you know, when I came in, I just had to slap everybody fine, but Drew had to make sure everything was in place. You know, like I said, I mean, he was even fixing the fro before the game, you know, and make sure that it sat outside the helmet really good. When I talk for most of our folks, they'll know that when the fro popped out in the back, you know, the fro was looking kind of good. So, you know, Drew brought all those qualities to the game. You know, had the wristbands, 2 or 3 on there, you know. He was sharp.
Tony Hill didn't care, but he didn't need it, you know. I needed it. I had to fool him a little bit, you know. I didn't have the size or the speed he had. So he would just throw his stuff on and I'm gone. I'm good to go.
Of course, in the end, with Hill and Pearson pushing each other to succeed, it was the Cowboys' offense as a whole that benefited.
The reason there might have been more of a rivalry between Drew Pearson and Tony Hill is no matter how good of friends they were, the way the offense was spread around, there weren't going to be enough passes to make 2 wide receivers happy.
One big thing with Drew and I think it really may have made us a better receiver, but you know, we're getting the ball thrown 4 or 5 times max in our direction. So, you know, if it's close, you better catch it because you're not getting anything else, you know. Drew and I would probably go to football heaven if we had to be in an opportunity that we're getting the ball thrown to us 10, 11, 12 times. I mean, I'm just throwing to us. I mean, and then catching X amount.
We never worried about who's the go-to guy. All those game-winning passes I never called myself the go-to guy. Because any play that was called in the offense or in a certain situation, when we broke that huddle, you might be the number 1 receiver. But if the defense changed or you go in motion or something, you're not the number 1 receiver again. So somebody else becomes that go-to guy, the number 1 guy.
You know, he was a guy that when you threw the ball, he's going to catch it. You know, just no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And most certainly, you know, I wanted to pattern myself in the same direction. You know, I didn't want to be a guy that just, you know, make big plays and et cetera. I wanted to be a guy that was dependable. And you can most certainly say that Drew, and of course, I would say myself as well, we were extremely dependable. Drew, they called him Mr. Clutch, and that was the reason why.
Tony understood that, and that was the respect that he had for Drew as to why they were able to get along as well as they did.
With Danny White taking over at quarterback in 1980 and Drew Pearson later retiring after the 1983 season, Tony Hill became an even bigger part of the Cowboys offense.
Tony was our spark, you know, especially going towards the mid-'80s. It's like he had figured all of it out, and that's saying a lot compared to a guy who came out of Stanford into the Cowboy organization playing good football as a rookie. So here it is, you know, as we get into the 80s, to me, he was one of the more prolific wide receivers, not just for the Cowboys, but in the NFL because we depended on him so much.
In 1985, Tony hauled in 74 catches for 1,113 receiving yards, both career highs, to lead the Cowboys to the playoffs, the team's last postseason appearance under head coach Tom Landry.
You know, 1985, some people thought was Tom's best coaching job. They won the division, and they weren't nearly the team they had been, and they suffered the kinds of losses that good teams don't normally suffer. Tony Hill may have had statistics because they were behind and had to throw more than in some other years.
And that was kind of a weird season because, you know, not only did they throw it a lot, but then they lost these games that it was like, well, what happened? They got wiped out by the Bears, who went on to win the Super Bowl that year. They got wiped out by Cincinnati, but yet they won the division.
He was the guy that we had to lean on. Dorsett was still running that ball. We still were doing well in the running game. But as far as the passing game was concerned, that was when they were kind of passing the torch. It went from Billy Joe Dupree to Cosby, to Doug Cosby, and it went from Drew Pearson to Tony Hill. That was Danny White's main targets, and you had Dorsett back there toting that rock. So we had a pretty well-balanced offense when Tony Hill was the catalyst.
It was a year that I got a lot of attention. You know, I thought it was good. You know, I'd been craving for that, especially when you go towards the twilight of your career. You know, you don't want to just walk into the sunset and there's just no horizon for you to look at. And I was getting that opportunity there.
Retiring after the 1986 season, Tony Hill spent his entire career with the Cowboys. He finished with 7,988 receiving yards, a team record at the time that still ranks third in franchise history. His 51 touchdown catches rank fifth all time.
If I look back at it, man, I probably could have played 3 or 4 more years. But you know what? I'm thankful for the things that I have.
Given his production, his value to the team over his decade of play, the question now for many is, does Tony Hill deserve to be in the Cowboys' Ring of Honor?
He had a really, really good career, and it was kind of an unsung career that I don't think people appreciated it.
Because he was a bad man. He should be in the Cowboy Ring of Honor, and his stats are better than mine. And I wouldn't be going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame if it wasn't for a guy like Tony Hill being on that other side.
I was there. I saw it. That's why I think he deserves to be in.
Had the Cowboys continued on that successful streak that they had going for those 20 years, I think we would have thought differently of Tony Hill because he was that good.
Well, you know, the problem with Tony is when the Cowboys came in, when he came into the Cowboys, that was their Super Bowl years. And then as you think of Tony as he finished out his career, that's not what you thought of in regards to the Dallas Cowboys themselves. So when you think of Ring of Honor, you think of guys who have been affiliated with championship seasons year in and year out. I think that's the only negative when it comes to Tony Hill not being into the Ring of Honor.
I don't know that it diminishes his career, but it doesn't hold it up on a pedestal the way it should have.
I consider myself extremely blessed. You know, I mean, I'm blessed at the career that I had. You know, I mean, I'm blessed that I had a great family, I had great friends. You know, I come to what I perceive as, you know, the #1 organization in the country. You know, I mean, I bleed silver and blue. You know, although yeah, I'd love to be on that Wall of Fame or the Ring of Honor, and you know, again, perhaps that may come. But you know, that's where I'm at. I can't ask for any more.
The Dallas Cowboys Legends Show was presented by AT&T, Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl.